Hello, I'm Jason Eastwood. Welcome back for part 4 of A Century of Sound with the Museum of St. James-Assiniboia. Today, we're going to have the final segment of this whole series. We're going to talk about jazz. Winnipeg and St. James has always been a hotbed of jazz. And St. James in particular had a fellow named Jimmy King come out of there, and he had swing bands and all kinds of little jazz combos. Lenny Breau was also a really influential Winnipeg musician. He went to Toronto and became a world famous guitarist. He played a lot of the music at the CKY building and for CKY radio. And Lenny Breau influenced a lot of jazz players in Winnipeg, like Ron Halderson and Reg Keln, who played with him, and Ron Paley, and the list goes on and on. Winnipeg and St. James has always had a rich tradition of jazz. So today, I'm going to play a little concert based on those kind of jazz roots and where that came from. And we'll start with some Duke Ellington, who kind of kicked everything off in the 20th century with his big band in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. This song is called Satin Doll. so Duke Ellington, you know, he influenced every jazz player and big band player that ever came after him, and just was a composer on the same level as most of the classical composers at the time, like Stravinsky and Aaron Copland. And then Benny Goodman kind of started picking up bands, and he had smaller combos as well as big bands. And he picked up a guitar player named Charlie Christian, who unfortunately he died at the age of 23 of tuberculosis. But he was an amazing phenom. He was the first one to really play an electric guitar, because with the big band in jazz, you used to have the Count Basie. The guitar would just do this all the time. Just keep a 4 on the floor kind of beat, because you couldn't really solo, because that sound would not cut out through all the big horns, right? But Charlie Christian got one of the first electric guitars. So of course, now he could turn himself up within the big band and take solos. So here's a song that him and Benny Goodman did called 7 Come 11. Benny Goodman influenced everyone that came after him, and that's when jazz really took off in the 50s and 60s. And there was a great piano player, kind of classically trained, named Dave Brubeck, but he had more of a feel for jazz, and he got together with a little combo, and a guy named Paul Desmond play sax for him, who wrote this next song, which I think you'll recognize. It's very famous. It's called Take 5, and it's called Take 5 because it's in 5/4 time, it's called. So there's 5 beats per bar. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. And here it goes. This is Take 5. Dave Brubeck. take 5. And of course, jazz features a lot of improvisation. You have these kind of melodies. And then you have portions of the song where people take solos. You know, there's a soloist. So I did in the middle there, I kind of did my own thing, a little solo take on it. And that's what jazz is all about. Then there's, so that influenced me. It influenced a lot of people. Now, it also influenced a lot of the guitar players in Winnipeg and singers was blues and jazz blues. Singers like Randy Bachman and, like I said, Lenny Breau. And they were influenced a lot by Kenny Burrell. He's a great guitar player. Also influenced blues players. He had this great song called Chitlins Con Carn, and I'm going to play that for you next. Chitlins Con Carn by Kenny Burrell. I suggest you check out some more of his music. He's got a great album called Midnight Blue that I think you'll, if you like that kind of sound, you'll love it. Grant Green was another great sort of guitar player in that vein. Of course, Miles Davis and Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, they were all kind of brought up the bebop in the scene in America, which also greatly influenced all the musicians here north of the border. So next one I'm going to do is a little tribute to Miles Davis. It's going to be a combination of 2 songs off his groundbreaking 1958 album, Kind of Blue. And it's going to be So What and All Blues. this. He played every kind of style of music from, started off with bebop and then into cool jazz, and kind of invented that. And then quintet, sort of hard bebop, and then electric jazz in the 70s and the 80s, which influenced a lot of rock players as well, and blues players. So, okay, for the last song I'm going to play, this is an original I wrote called The Lights of St. James. So, kind of combining what all of growing up in this area and also all my influences of jazz. So I hope you enjoy this one. It's called The Lights of St. James. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was part 4 of A Century of Sound from the St. James Museum of Assiniboia. And my name is Jason Eastwood, and thanks for listening.